Welcome to Phile Fest. You are taking part in the X-Files CCG demonstration and tournament. There are aspects of this game that you need to know. Our mission is to help you understand the fundamental mechanics and rules of this collectible card game that exists in the X-Files fictional universe. As a player in this tournament, you are now a part of that universe. Our knowledgeable staff is here to help you become acquainted with the basic gameplay mechanics and to answer any questions you may have during the demonstration process. As a member of the initiative, you will be given your starter kit, the contents of which will contain everything you need to take part in the tournament, which will be hosted by Dean Haglund, aka Richard Langley, on Sunday, September 10th. During the Phile Fest convention, you may interact with the CCG personnel and view the display of relics and extremely rare artifacts that make up the X-Files CCG history and lore. But please, don't approach the glass. It is for the greater good of both the initiative and the game's community. This is an exciting venture of which you are now a part, and it begins with understanding how the X-Files collectible card game is played. Like the hit television series upon which it is based, the X-Files CCG will open up a world of bizarre and compelling adventure for those brave enough to attempt it, and resourceful enough to discover its secrets. Your objective is to identify your opponent's mystery X-File. To achieve this goal, your agents must use their skills to investigate sites. Your team of agents may utilize helpful witnesses, equipment, and events. You must also protect the secrecy of your own X-File by using adversaries, bluffs, and events to thwart your opponent's investigation. As you and your opponent prepare to play the X-Files CCG, you will need to conduct these pre-game tasks. The first is to select an X-File and place it face down. There are 41 possible X-File cards to choose from. Through deductive reasoning, be the first player to identify your opponent's hidden X-File to win the game. The next step is to select a team of 4 agents. Then, each player will divide the surface area they are playing on into 3 sections: the Bureau, the Field, and the Hospital. Your agents will begin the game in the Bureau section. For the purposes of this tournament, construct a Bureau deck of 50 cards and place it face down in your Bureau section. Of the 50 cards in your Bureau deck, be sure to include a minimum of 12 sites that your team of agents can easily contribute their respective skills. It is recommended that your Bureau deck be composed of 30 resource cards, as denoted by the blue shield in the lower right corner, and the remaining 20 as conspiracy cards, which you'll use to hinder your opponent's efforts to identify your hidden X-File. Please bear in mind that this Phile Fest tournament will feature a modified hybrid, that is to say, a hybrid version of this game's basic and advanced procedures. It is imperative that you follow the instructions imparted in this video. You will also retain a discard pile of all cards used during the game. Place discarded cards face up next to your Bureau deck. Should the Bureau deck ever run out of cards, shuffle your discard pile to recreate the Bureau deck and resume gameplay as normal. The final necessary components of the game are the X-File notebook to track what you know about your opponent's X-File, and tokens to signify such damage and other information, both of which are available in your starter kit. Set aside 10 blue tokens and 10 red tokens to denote your resource and conspiracy pools, respectively. Prior to beginning the game, both players will shuffle their respective Bureau decks and draw 7 cards. The final pre-game step is to decide which of you will start the game as the investigating player. You can flip a coin, for example. Some small pockets of our community employ some, how shall I put it, lowbrow methods for determining who goes first. Exercise good judgment. Each round of the game comprises 7 phases. At the onset of the briefing phase, each player will draw up to 10 cards. Each player will replenish their resource and conspiracy pools up to 10 points each. The second phase, healing, occurs in the section of the table designated the hospital. The investigating player will remove 1 damage token from any hospitalized agent. For the purposes of this tournament, agents may not leave the hospital until all tokens of damage have been removed. We come now to the Requisition Phase. During this phase, the investigating player will attach any equipment cards in their hand to an eligible agent. Use your resource pool to pay for the listed cost of the equipment card. Note the majority of the equipment cards can only be requisitioned to agents while in the Bureau section. During the fourth phase, deployment, you as the investigating player will move your agents to either the field, the Bureau, or the hospital. In most cases, you will move agents to the field where the next 2 phases occur. We move now to the case assignment phase, in which you, the investigating player, will place at least 1 site card in your field section. Once again, you must use your resource pool to pay for each site card that is played at this time. It is during this phase that your opponent may decide to place face-down bluff cards on the site of their choosing. Bluffs are designed to make the investigating player reconsider the chances of a successful investigation. After the conspiracy player has decided whether or not to assign bluff cards, the investigation phase will begin. As the investigation phase begins, you, the investigating player, will decide which, if any, of your agents in the field will be allocated to the site. Bear in mind that you do not have to investigate a site if you are concerned that a face-down bluff could prove detrimental. Assign your agents to the site or sites of your choosing. Generally speaking, an agent may only participate in 1 site investigation per turn. Once you've allocated your agents, announce to your opponent which skill is being used to meet the prerequisite listed on the site card. In this example, the prerequisite listed on the site is Alien Investigation 4+, meaning that the agents assigned to this site must have a collective 4 or more alien investigation skill amongst them in order to successfully investigate the site. You may play such cards as witnesses and events to ensure your team can meet the site prerequisite. After assessing your team's skills with regards to the site prerequisite, your opponent must now reveal any face-down bluffs at the site and pay for them using the tokens found in their conspiracy pool. Apply a -1 cost to each face-down bluff. In this example, the cost of the bluff is listed as 3, but your opponent need only pay 2 conspiracy points because it was placed face down. In addition to bluffs, your opponent may attempt to play events and deadly adversaries to hinder your investigation. Adversaries played at this site must meet the activator requirements listed on the card. In this example, the Manitou stalks his prey has the activators of motive and sight, so it may only be played on a site that possesses the keywords motive and sight. If you are unable to negate your opponent's adversary, then the combat subroutine will take place between the agents at the site and the adversary. During this subroutine, only combat cards may be played by either player. Combat generally occurs in 2 rounds. Only one round of long-range combat occurs. Close-range combat is repeated until either the adversary is defeated or all agents are sent to the hospital. An agent is sent to the hospital when their health is reduced to 0, at which point they will receive 2 tokens of damage, which can be removed during the aforementioned healing phase. The investigating player and the conspiracy player may play as many cards as they wish during the investigation phase, provided the cost of the cards is paid. If the investigating team of agents at the site can still successfully meet the site prerequisite after all cards played at the site have been resolved, then you, the investigating player, may ask your opponent a specific characteristic question as stated on the site card. In this example, the site card indicates that one motive question may be asked. Pose your question in the following manner. Your opponent will respond with either yes or no. Use your X-File notebook to mark off the X-Files you have ruled out as a possibility. At this point, you may choose to identify your opponent's X-File, but bear in mind that if your identity question proves incorrect, your opponent will receive a penalty question regarding your hidden X-File. Place the site card in your discard pile. For the purposes of this hybrid tournament, each player will have one free Deep Throat question that they may use at any point during the game. The Deep Throat question allows one to ask any one characteristic question about their opponent's X-File. After all investigated sites have been resolved, move all used cards to the discard pile except for unexplored sites with face-down bluffs attached. For the final phase of your turn, Debriefing, both players may discard any cards they do not wish to keep in their hand. For the purposes of this hybrid gameplay, you are not required to discard any cards, but bear in mind that you will only be permitted to draw up to 10 cards in the subsequent briefing phase. The turn is completed. Your opponent will now assume the role of the investigating player, and you will take on the role of the conspiracy player. Now you have learned all you need to know in order to take part in the tournament. On behalf of all members of the X-Files CCG initiative, welcome to the tournament, and good luck in your investigations.